Good morning. It's 6:03. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL app's a free download. And Erin's got a local news she's getting ready.
Hard freeze warning is still in effect. We'll have the latest on schools and roads and what's happening across the state. And in some other news stories, a bank inside a grocery store is robbed, and the flu is still devastating our state.
It's going to be above freezing today.
Yoo-hoo!
But it's going to be cold again tonight.
Oh, boy.
7 o'clock hour this morning, kind of like the showdown at the KEEL Corral.
Yeah.
Tell you guys about that. And if you missed our chat with Dr. Jim Henderson yesterday, a little replay there. Fletcher in sports and traffic and weather, and it's all this hour coming up on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
We remain under a hard freeze warning until later today. This winter storm has gripped our entire state. Now, locally, schools are back open except for Herndon in North Caddo Parish. The school has no water. State DOTD Secretary Dr. Sean Wilson telling KEEL News this storm is impacting all of our state.
Well, absolutely. I will tell you, I just posted to Twitter not so long ago that the road that is farthest south in Louisiana, LA1 down in Grand Isle, has ice on it. And so that just tells you how significant of an event we're dealing with here across the entire state.
Rodney Mallett says crews worked hard to keep a few key areas in the southern part of the state open.
We followed our plan. We pre-treated. We salted the Mississippi River Bridge on I-10, the elevated portions of I-10, and the bridges on I-12.
Locally, I-220 and I-49 are now back open. Thanks to below freezing temps, many homes and businesses are having trouble with frozen pipes. Plumbers in the area say they're booked solid due to all the issues caused by the weather. Expert plumbers say if you have a frozen pipe, you have to thaw it properly or it will bust. One of the best things you can do is open the cabinets and doors near your outside pipes to allow warm air to permeate the wall and hopefully prevent freezing or slowly thaw. A gunman robs a bank in Shreveport. Matt Parker with that.
Shreveport police are on the hunt for a man who robbed the Carter Federal Credit Union inside Kroger on Uri Drive Wednesday morning. Police say the man jumped across the counter, pointed a gun at the clerk, and demanded money. The masked man escaped with an undisclosed amount of cash and was seen fleeing in a Chevy pickup truck. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Worst flu season on record this year. Nearly 10 in 100 doctor visits for flu-related symptoms. Dr. Frank Welch says in his 20 years of doing this, he's never seen so many cases.
We are almost double the national average. The national average is terrible, so we're really getting hit hard in Louisiana.
Welch says complications from the flu kills about 700 Louisiana residents every year. Shreveport firefighters investigating a possible explosion and fire at the Calumet refinery on Midway. Fire department officials say they got several calls Wednesday night from residents who heard an explosion and saw a glow coming from the plant. The Calumet Fire Brigade says there was an incident with a steam boiler that caused a fire. No injuries reported. More budget cuts could be hitting higher ed. Dr. Jim Henderson, president and CEO of the University of Louisiana System, says the governor's hands will be tied.
I don't think we can afford cuts to higher ed. Unfortunately, the way this process works, I believe the governor is limited to where he can make cuts to those areas that are not statutorily or constitutionally protected. And as a result of that, higher education is one of the main targets.
Henderson says he was told to expect a cut to tops of $233 million and a cut of $26 million for universities. Many in Stonewall, Kingston, and Frierson have been without power due to a substation failure. SWEPCO is asking residents in those areas to conserve energy so they can get power restored to those without. A 50-year-old man fighting for his life after being shot early today on 3132. The man was apparently changing a flat tire when he was hit by a bullet. His injuries are considered life-threatening. Immigration officials will release details about the next steps for Haitians in the U.S. on temporary protected status. The Trump administration delayed the process of re-registering some 60,000 Haitians with the special status, resulting in their facing employment and travel hurdles. Fort Collins, Colorado judges in the middle of a debate over topless women. Right now, going topless for women is banned in the community, but a group is challenging that law. No ruling yet. I'm Erin McCarty on 101 and 710 KEEL.
What we call a strategic framework, and it's a document that was
10 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Traffic for Thursday morning. Starting us off, here's Ruben.
Everything's still running nice and smooth for your early morning drive to work or school, but the portion of I-49 north of I-220 is still closed due to winter weather. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zaire.
Good morning. It's 12 past 6. Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. You look kind of snazzy today. What you got on the agenda?
I'm just looking forward to the 7 o'clock hour.
No. You're going somewhere today.
Nope.
No?
I just curled the hair. I did a nice soaking tub thing. Curled the hair, did the whole shebang.
And you don't have big plans. You don't have to go give a speech. You don't have to go.
No.
You're not going somewhere for fun where you need to get kind of dolled up.
I knew we were going to have a lot of eyes watching the 7 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'll do a little bit of snazziness.
So basically, you're dressing up for Messrs. Adley and Seabaugh.
I'm not dressed up.
In a way that you just wouldn't even think about doing for Matt and myself.
Heck no.
I think she's just trying to make up for yesterday.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah. How'd you feel when you woke up?
Well, after the aspirin or before the aspirin?
Yeah, you got a point.
I'm okay.
Somebody had a couple of beers yesterday.
I can't believe I did that.
Well, actually,
I was hungry, so bad hungry. I didn't eat supper.
Yeah.
And I had no breakfast.
Yeah.
And that
And
goes,
so you
I got
decided
beer
that-
in the fridge.
Yeah, because
I'm like, that's not bad.
because when
Barley?
someone hasn't eaten in a long time,
Just throw some beer on
the
it.
one thing you want to do is give them beer.
I know.
Yesterday morning, we chatted with Dr. Jim Henderson, who is the president and CEO of the Louisiana University System, because we had seen an article, and basically Dr. Jim says, we got kind of a plan. Now, wait a second, it wasn't really a plan. There was sort of a meeting with him and a bunch of other college presidents and guys in charge, and they want to get more adults, specifically about 150,000 more people into the state's university system. And I said, so you got a plan for that, right?
What we call a strategic framework. And it's a document that was created under the leadership of the 9 university presidents that I work with. And we started with just saying, guys, we have to come up with something that's worthy of the citizens of Louisiana, that's worthy of the employers of Louisiana. And they basically came up with an idea that we're going to create the most educated generation of Louisianans in our state's history.
Now, you also say, sort of connected to that, the state must prepare for the reality of the job market. What is that reality, and how does Louisiana's reality differ from maybe the rest of the country?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one that causes people to especially those from our generations and older, to kind of shake our heads and wonder, how's this possible? But when you look at advances in technology, when you look at the ubiquity of automation and the emergence of artificial intelligence, the workforce is changing forever. When you think that over the last 25 years, a third of the jobs currently on the market did not exist when that 25-year period started, and then understand that that rate of growth of new jobs is going to increase, you know that we have to train people for occupations that we don't even know about today. We've got to train people that can think critically. We've got to train people that can communicate effectively, they can work as teams, and also have a foundation in technology. When we do that, then we're going to be competitive. Unfortunately, Louisiana starts off behind the ball. We've got one of the lowest educational attainment rates in the country. And when you have an old school agricultural base or an old school manufacturing base, that's okay. You can make it with skill sets alone. Unfortunately, that's disappearing. And those rote skills are going to have to become much higher level technology-based skills. We can get there, but it's going to take a focus from employers, from students, and most importantly, from the educational establishment. Universities of Louisiana have bought in, and we're going to deliver the solution.
Jim, why university level attainment, you're saying it's the lowest in the country. I don't understand why it's at the bottom when we have TOPS, which is funding virtually every kid who wants to go to school.
Well, we're not the lowest in the country. We're one of the lowest, but TOPS doesn't cover the full cost of going to school. You know, over the last 10 years, we have seen tremendous increases in the cost of attendance at colleges and universities. And TOPS only pays for a portion of that. I'll give you a perfect example. My son is a freshman at University of Louisiana Lafayette. He has the highest level of TOPS. He has a number of scholarships because of his scholastic achievements. I just wrote a check for about $1,500 to cover the rest of his spring semester, even with all of those opportunities. There's still a cost that's there. The other part of that question is there have been so many opportunities for people who did not have a college degree. And when I say college degree, I'm not just talking about 4-year degrees, but also certificates and degrees from our community colleges. You were able to succeed in the workforce without that. Those opportunities are going to be disappearing very, very quickly. And so we're going to have to find ways to serve more and more adults. The adult generation has long been neglected. We're going to have to serve different populations of color, populations from rural areas, populations from lower demographic economies. So we're going to have to figure this out. It's going to be tough, but the cost is a real barrier for many.
Let me ask you this, Jim, too. I hope it's okay to call you Jim. I always have. The governor's presenting his budget plan Friday. It doesn't look like he's coming to an agreement with Republicans, so he says his plan is going to involve cuts. Higher ed has often been on the edge of that knife. What's your message to the governor today about cuts to higher ed?
Well, I will tell you that I don't think we can afford cuts to higher ed. Unfortunately, the way this process works, I believe the governor is limited to where he can make cuts to those areas that are not statutorily or constitutionally protected. And as a result of that, higher education is one of the main targets that always. Certainly, this is not his priority, but I will tell you that in a conference call with some of his staff last week, we were told to expect as much as a $233 million reduction in TOPS.
Wow.
And a $26 million reduction in operations for our universities. It's just not sustainable, and it's not good for Louisiana.
Is that jobs? Is that classes? Is that what would that mean?
Well, the TOPS part is just an increase in cost for families. And when you think that we have a large number of students that we serve that are literally a dead car battery away from dropping out of college, that's just unsustainable. But the other part of that, the other side of that coin, you have other states that are looking to Louisiana, and they're saying, you know what, we can go get their best and brightest because they rely on TOPS. We're going to give them institutional scholarships, and we're going to take them to Alabama or to Texas or to Mississippi or to Arkansas. And when those competitor states come and get our best, they rarely come back. So we have got to figure out a solution so that we can fulfill the promise of TOPS. These students, the existing students, chose our universities based on that promise, at least in part. Potential students are making their decisions now. We need to find a solution so that we can fulfill that promise of TOPS.
Mr. Jim, there's an old cliche. People get the citizenry gets the government that it demands. To some degree, the citizenry, the people get the educational system that they demand. And I guess the point I'm making is a college education, is it something that most Louisianans give the importance that you and the job market as we get into the 21st century will demand, i.e., are you talking basically about a cultural change, the way the people in Louisiana look at their own schooling?
We're going to have that cultural change. And listen, there are all kinds of anecdotes that people have experienced of someone who didn't do well in school, and they're making a great life for themselves because they've got a skill set that can be successful. And you know, the cliche is always welders. And listen, those jobs are vitally important, and we need more and more young people to enter into these technology or these technical professions because they are critical. But even they are changing. Think about welding. You think about putting pipe together. Well, we're putting pipe together that's going to go 10,000 feet deep in the Gulf, where the water temperature is 40 degrees, but the product you're extracting from the Gulf is 400 degrees. Think about the stresses that puts on metal, and so the metallurgy that's involved in creating that connection, and the way that welders are going to have to learn new techniques and more sophisticated techniques. Even that is changing forever. So what we have to convince Louisianans is that the job market of the past and the skill sets and the man in the past, those are going away, and they're going away forever, and they're going away quickly.
21 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic update. Ruben's here.
Looks like I-49 and I-20 are back open this morning, and they are both looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on I-220 westbound near North Market due to construction. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
23 past 6 o'clock. KEEL Sports. Fletch is back.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Kevin Falk is apparently coming home. One of LSU's greatest running backs of all time is expected to join Ed Orgeron's staff as a member of the support staff. The 41-year-old Falk currently is a coach at his alma mater at Karen Crow High School. He was a three-time All-SEC running back in Baton Rouge and three-time Super Bowl winner with New England. The Northwestern State Demons dropped their ninth straight game, falling 75-52 to Sam Houston State on the road Wednesday. The Bearcats have now won 5 straight games. Ishmael Lane led the Demons with 20 points and 13 rebounds. Meanwhile, in Natchitoches, the Lady Demons picked up their first Southland Conference win of the season with a 63-60 win over Sam Houston State. Sophomore Jasmine Johnson led Northwestern with a career-high 21 points and added 6 steals. And if you've got a hankering for high school hoops, you're in luck because of the inclement weather and the cancellation of Tuesday's games. There is a glut of games that have been moved to Thursday and Saturday.
million reduction in TOPS.
Wow.
And a $26 million reduction in operations for our universities. That's just not sustainable, and it's not good for Louisiana.
Dr. Henderson says higher ed is one of the few unprotected areas in the state's budget. Southern University had some unwanted visitors. Matt Parker with that.
The campus of Southern University in Shreveport has turned into a hunting ground thanks to some uninvited guests, wild boars. Cattle Animal Control and several private companies have captured over 50 hogs in traps on the campus grounds over the past year. Officials say they have no idea how many more packs are roaming the area, but have traps set that are full almost every morning. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Shreveport firefighters investigating a possible explosion and fire at the Calumet refinery on Midway Avenue. Fire officials got numerous calls from residents who heard an explosion and saw a glow. No one was hurt. Louisiana continues to suffer through its worst flu season on record, with nearly 10 in 100 doctor visits in the last month for flu-related symptoms. Immunization Director Frank Welch says every few years the country's hit with a particularly nasty strain of the flu known as H3N2, but this year's strain is even more resilient than usual. Welch says that means more severe symptoms.
More people get the flu, it's more contagious, and it's more serious. Rather than being sick 3 or 4 days, people are sick 5 to 7 days.
Welch says complications from the flu kills about 700 residents in our state every year. A man changing a flat tire on 3132 is shot. It happened overnight. The man's 50 years old. His wound considered life-threatening. The grandparents of 13 starved and tortured children say their son's family looked happy and healthy when they last visited California 6 years ago. Betty and James Turpin of West Virginia say they were in shock when they learned of the arrest of their son David Turpin and his wife Louise. Uber says some passengers soon won't have to look at their app to get a peek at the driver who's coming to get them because there won't be a driver. The company plans to carry passengers in autonomous vehicles without human backup drivers. They say the change could happen as early as next year. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
.636, Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. The KEEL app's a free download. Don't forget, presented by Office Furniture Source.
You can always text us, too, on the Shreveport Security Systems text line.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I don't have it.
Come on, you got this. Focus.
318. I got that part.
No, come on.
392?
Yeah.
1884?
Nice.
Did I get it right?
318-392-1884.
You can text us nasty messages or nice messages. That's fine.
Evidently, this works because I'm not saying recommend this. And the only thing this reminds me of is I told you the story when I was living in Greenwich Village in New York about the guys that decided to cook the whole pig, in their bathtub with barbecue with charcoal briquettes.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, we had to evacuate the entire building.
No.
I know you're stunned. And this seems to be on the surface that sort of not exactly thought out plan.
Mm-hmm.
But according to your brother, it's a plan that worked.
Yes, he lives in Baton Rouge. He had no water. So he lives in a nice brick home, beautiful home. So he decided to take hot coals and put them outside his house by where his water main is, and he put the hot coals out there.
What kind of hot coals?
I don't know where he got them. I don't know if he put them in his barbecue pit or not. I'm not sure.
Right.
And he put them out there, and it worked. His water's flowing again.
That's not something I would
Well, his
necessarily
house burned down later that day, but no, I'm just kidding.
recommend.
No, don't do that.
I'm sure the HOA frowns on that
Don't
sort
do
of
that.
landscape destruction.
But I have a plumbing question, and you two guys are not manly enough for this, so
I can barely
we're gonna,
flush.
I'm going to need a plumbing guy or a manly man or something. I have water. My house is fine. Hot water, everything good. But the toilet,
yes,
there's water not flowing to the toilet. So when you flush, you have to add water. You know, you have to add water in the bowl.
The tank does not refill.
Yeah, the tank is not refilling, so I'm not sure if that one line can be frozen or if something's. I just don't want my whole house to be flooded when I get
that little
home.
valve that plops down and covers up the hole.
Valve schmalve, I don't know.
So you don't really know.
I have no clue.
So it may not be related to your water line at all. It might, in fact, be something inside the tank.
Well, all the innards are new.
That might be misfunctioning.
No, all the innards of the toilet are new.
Use the litter box until you figure it out.
We'll have to go buy a litter box.
And stay away from the hot coals.
And then Tiger would get in it.
639, 1017 FM, 710 Keel traffic time. Here's Ruben.
Just a reminder that the portion of I-49 north of I-220 is still closed for winter weather, but I-20 and I-220 are both open in Bossier and Caddo Parish. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
We need a millennial, and I think we have one.
Not us.
1017 FM, 710 Keel, Robert J. Wright, and Erin McCarty, 642. Okay, so I've got three. Well, we had the story a couple of days ago, and it's sort of a Twitter scandal which involves the term shadow banning. Mm-hmm. And a whole bunch of guys used to work for Twitter, a bunch of their algorithm engineer guys. What they're saying is, all those conservative people that said they're kind of screwing us, well, they kind of are. That these Twitter guys who have left the company have said that Twitter does something called shadow banning, which basically is if you, what were the buzzwords? Church, God, conservative. There were a bunch of others sort of related. Trump was on that list, but the point being that they, meaning conservative folks, would put up posts and or, what's the exact, tweets. No one would respond, and they would think, well, I'm just not reaching anybody. Well, the reason they weren't reaching anybody is because Twitter was doing what was called shadow banning, which means you can see your own tweet. Nobody else can.
Oh,
you can see your own stuff. Nobody else can. So the
Nobody else.
reason no one is responding to your stuff is because they can't see it.
It doesn't exist in the eyes of the world.
Now, that was sort of digital, I don't want to say scandal number one, but then we have the headline, Facebook reminds publishers we're in charge. And I need you to explain this to me regarding Facebook and let me and everybody know if this will affect who it will affect and how.
Okay.
Facebook rolled out another change to its news feed, which they say will give greater visibility to posts from friends and family. But critics say the subtext is that it will decrease visibility to pages run by publishers and news sites. Escalating the social media giants running battle with the publishing industry. Okay, KEEL has a Facebook page.
Yes, we do.
We put up posts about every hour to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Who will this affect, and are we and our viewers among those?
Basically, if you have a page, whether it's a business page, like the KEEL page, if you own a restaurant and you put your menu and all that fancy stuff up there, it's going to affect you directly. If you have like one of those personal things that you have to click, basically, if you have to click like on it instead of add friend,
if it's commercial based.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking the one that pops into my head is Maryland's Place
Sure.
on Fern Avenue. You go to Maryland's Place page, you go to the Two Johns page, you go somewhere like that, and you click on the menu, and you've got people talking about the restaurant.
Yep.
How will this affect, or the KEEL page for that matter?
KEEL, yeah.
How will this affect them and or us?
It's going to get buried instead of it being.
Whoa, stop. Buried.
It already has. If you
Oh,
use Facebook, you've already noticed it.
Buried is to me an interesting term. What does that mean? That sounds a little radical.
It's not, because when you're, before all these changes, this isn't something that just happened overnight, by the way. A lot of people think it is. Facebook has been slowly doing this over the past, probably 2 years.
And the purpose would be if they are moving commercial pages to, pardon me, the back of the bus, the purpose would be, I would think at some point, because they want their money.
Yeah. What they will frame it as, and I think they do when they made this big release, is that they want users to see more stuff from their friends and their family. But the real reason is they want people like KEEL to spend X amount of money, dollars every day on their new advertising page thing. So, we're going to bury you unless you give us $20 a day.
See, there's that word again. When
You're not going to see the light of day, which is the definition of buried.
Well,
They're putting us under the ground.
What we need to do, though, what you need to do, if you like some of the things you see from KEEL, in the Facebook box at the top, when you go to Facebook, just type KEEL up there, and all of our stuff will come up. If you go and if you want to check out our stuff throughout the day, just go look for us.
Actually, there's an easier way to do that.
Is it easier? Okay.
If you're on if there's a page you really like, whether it's KEEL or Maryland's or whatever, you can go into the menu on the page, and it'll say something along the lines of make sure I see everything this page publishes, and it'll force it into your timeline.
Okay.
But most people don't put in that kind of effort. They just want to open up Facebook and scroll. And that's because no one uses the search bar ever.
Well, you can. You
can,
do it that
but
way.
no one does
I use it a lot. Like
You're
if I'm
old.
looking for a certain person.
You're old.
Like today, I was looking for somebody, and here they are calling me right now.
So let us move on now to YouTube, announcing terms to its partner program that will effectively demonetize every small channel on their platform. So once again, KEEL and a lot of other companies around the Arklatex that would be classified as small business how are the changes in YouTube's policy going to affect us and other businesses?
Basically,
pardon me, the way that folks, we put up every interview on the KEEL YouTube channel. How will this affect people's access to those?
YouTube's a little bit weird, but basically, much like, let's say you search, I don't know, Senator John Kennedy, because, he's on TV all the time. Instead of our interview with Senator John, it's going to be the Fox interview, because we don't matter. Unless you have like 1 million viewers.
Are you
and
telling me we
subscribers.
don't matter because Fox pays and we don't?
They bring in more advertising dollars, my friend. Because, advertisers, when you click on the video, it gets the pre-roll where it's got, the 30-second watch commercial or whatever it happens to be.
Yes.
You see those advertisements on the big, videos and channels with more subscribers. Unless you got 1 million views or 1 million subscribers, you don't matter. Because
So
you're not
the
bringing in any money.
priority, the search priority will change according to how much money you are bringing in via your own advertising.
Basically, everything's about the money, my friend.
649, 1017 FM, 710 Keel, just after 7 o'clock. Representative Alan Seabaugh, former Senator Robert Adley in studio talking about the state's economic situation, John Bell's fiscal cliff et al. In the meantime, traffic update on KEEL. Here's Ruben.
Looks like I-49 and I-20 are back open this morning, and they are both looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on I-220 westbound near North Market due to construction. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD. To report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
I'm Jennifer Kishchenko with your
It is 6:52, 8 away from 7 o'clock. KEEL Sports, here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Kevin Falk is apparently coming home. One of LSU's greatest running backs of all time is expected to join Ed Orgeron's staff as a member of the support staff. The 41-year-old Falk currently is a coach at his alma mater at Karen Crow High School. He was a 3-time All-SEC running back in Baton Rouge and 3-time Super Bowl winner with New England. The Northwestern State Demons dropped their 9th straight game, falling 75-52 to Sam Houston State on the road Wednesday. The Bearcats have now won 5 straight games. Ishmael Lane led the Demons with 20 points and 13 rebounds. Meanwhile, in Natchitoches, the Lady Demons picked up their first Southland Conference win of the season with a 63-60 win over Sam Houston State. Sophomore Jasmine Johnson led Northwestern with a career-high 21 points and added 6 steals. And if you've got a hankering for high school hoops, you're in luck because of the inclement weather and the cancellation of Tuesday's games. There is a glut of games that have been moved to Thursday and Saturday to make up for Tuesday's cancellations. Add that to the already scheduled games Friday, and you can't throw a rock without hitting a high school basketball game over these next 3 days. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Did you bring the soccer boppers? I forgot them.
No.
Okay.
Did you have Rock'em Sock and Robots when you were a kid?
Yes, of course.
Your
I have
brothers
5
did?
brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They destroyed a couple of those.
What was the biggest fight your brothers ever had? 1017 FM, 710. I mean, was there ever like a brawl in the hall where they were like all, because they were all in high school at the same time?
I never saw more than one. It
So-
was always a one-on-one.
So
It was
you
never
pretty much
two
got
jumped
like
on one.
5 grown men with the minds of teenagers,
Yeah.
obviously, but it was
What
never.
they used to fight over was music, because one would be in this bedroom with loud music, and one would be in the other bedroom with loud music,
Yeah.
and they'd be drowning each other out, and they would get angry at each other about that.
Well, at least it was something important. Coming up
Yeah.
just after 7 o'clock, former Senator Robert Adley, Representative Alan Seabaugh talking Louisiana economics, John Bell's fiscal cliff, etc. Right now, 6:56, here's Rush on KEEL.
Last week, a meddlesome district judge in San Francisco inserted himself into American immigration policy with a temporary restraining order. Judge William Alsop told the Trump administration they have to keep Obama's DACA program in place. California is among a handful of states trying to stop Trump from using executive powers to get rid of DACA, which Obama put in place using executive powers. It's really unconstitutional. While appealing the ruling to the Ninth Circuit, the Trump Department of Justice is also going to the Supreme Court. They're asking the High Court to step in and overturn the district judge's ruling. Now, folks, it's kind of interesting here because the judge helping DACA stay in force kind of takes away any time crunch for its expiration, meaning there's no need to now hastily proceed toward extending it or changing it or getting rid of it. If the Democrats wanted, they could just stop and let this judge's ruling prevail while the courts take care of it. Another thing to look at, if the Democrats really think they're going to win the House in 2018, why change anything right now? Just let it all happen as it does. Don't agree to anything. And then when they win the House, do what they want to do then. Let's see how they behave this year. It'll give us a heads up on what they really think is going to happen in November.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-2013. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-444-2013. 800-444-2013.
Keeping an eye right now on some slow-moving traffic on Line Avenue and East 70th Street. And we have some traffic delays on Westgate Drive near Barksdale Boulevard in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Mostly sunny today. Not as cold in the afternoon with a high of 43. Turning partly cloudy and cold. Low 27 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zaire.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport.
Good morning. It's 6:03. Robert and Erin, 1017 FM, 710 Keel, way down yonder. The other end of the gopher-shaped table, Miss Erin has local news up next.
Hard freeze warning is continuing until later today. All schools back in session except for one. We'll tell you more about that. Now, this is impacting us statewide. Lots of problems to the south. We'll have that. And you ever hear of a hold-up guy goes into a grocery store and robs the bank inside the store?
State Representative Alan Seabaugh, former Senator Robert Adley, going to talk about the state's economic plight. What's the deal? What's the truth? Who's to blame? What's the fix? We will discuss. They will discuss in just a couple of seconds. Traffic and weather, plus Fletcher and sports, all coming up this hour right here on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
We remain under a hard freeze warning until later today. This winter storm has gripped our entire state. Now, locally, schools are back open except for Herndon in North Caddo Parish. The school has no water. State DOTD Secretary Dr. Sean Wilson telling KEEL News this storm is impacting all of our state.
Well, absolutely. I will tell you, I just posted to Twitter not so long ago that the road that is farthest south in Louisiana, LA1 down in Grand Isle, has ice on it. And so that just tells you how significant of an event we're dealing with here across the entire state.
Rodney Mallett says crews worked hard to keep a few key areas in the southern part of the state open.
We followed our plan. We pre-treated. We salted the Mississippi River Bridge on I-10, the elevated portions of I-10, and the bridges on I-12.
Locally, I-220 and I-49 are now back open. Thanks to below freezing temps, many homes and businesses are having trouble with frozen pipes. Plumbers in the area say they're booked solid due to all the issues caused by the weather. Expert plumbers say if you have a frozen pipe, you have to thaw it properly or it will bust. One of the best things you can do is open the cabinets and doors near your outside pipes to allow warm air to permeate the wall and hopefully prevent freezing or slowly thaw. A gunman robs a bank in Shreveport. Matt Parker with that.
Shreveport police are on the hunt for a man who robbed a Carter Federal Credit Union inside Kroger on Uri Drive Wednesday morning. Police say the man jumped across the counter, pointed a gun at the clerk, and demanded money. The masked man escaped with an undisclosed amount of cash and was seen fleeing in a Chevy pickup truck. From 1017 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Matt Parker.
Worst flu season on record this year. Nearly 10 in 100 doctor visits for flu-related symptoms. Dr. Frank Welch says in his 20 years of doing this, he's never seen so many cases.
We are almost double the national average. The national average is terrible, so we're really getting hit hard in Louisiana.
Welch says complications from the flu kills about 700 Louisiana residents every year. Shreveport firefighters investigating a possible explosion and fire at the Calumet refinery on Midway. Fire department officials say they got several calls Wednesday night from residents who heard an explosion and saw a glow coming from the plant. The Calumet Fire Brigade says there was an incident with a steam boiler that caused a fire. No injuries reported. More budget cuts could be hitting higher ed. Dr. Jim Henderson, president and CEO of the University of Louisiana System, says the governor's hands will be tied.
I don't think we can afford cuts to higher ed. Unfortunately, the way this process works, I believe the governor is limited to where he can make cuts to those areas that are not statutorily or constitutionally protected. And as a result of that, higher education is one of the main targets.
Henderson says he was told to expect a cut to TOPS of $233 million and a cut of $26 million for universities. Many in Stonewall, Kingston, and Frierson have been without power due to a substation failure. SWEPCO is asking residents in those areas to conserve energy so they can get power restored to those without. A 50-year-old man fighting for his life after being shot early today on 3132. The man was apparently changing a flat tire when he was hit by a bullet. His injuries are considered life-threatening. Immigration officials will release details about the next steps for Haitians in the U.S. on temporary protected status. The Trump administration delayed the process of re-registering some 60,000 Haitians with the special status, resulting in their facing employment and travel hurdles. Fort Collins, Colorado judges in the middle of a debate over topless women. Right now, going topless for women is banned in the community, but a group is challenging that law. No ruling yet. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Ten past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic time. Ruben's here.
The intersection at Kings Highway and Linwood Avenue is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we're starting to see some traffic delays on Shed Road near Swan Lake Spur in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Good morning. It's 12 past 7 o'clock. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. The KEEL app's a free download. Don't forget, presented by Office Furniture Source. Two in-studio guests this morning. First, we even flipped a coin.
We did flip a coin.
To see who would go first. Do you want the ball? Do you defer to the second half? Former State Senator Robert Adley is here. Mr. Robert, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And also State Representative Alan Seabaugh. Mr. Allen, a pleasure as always.
I appreciate y'all having us.
So, Mr. Robert, let's start with, because we're going to talk about the economic state of Louisiana. And when we talked with Alan a couple of weeks ago, he started off by saying, he said, if there is a fiscal cliff, it is of John Bell's doing. I'm not sure you agree with that 100%, do you?
Well, I met with you since Alan made that comment, and obviously I don't agree with that. I mean, the facts are pretty simple. I mean, when Bobby Jindal left office, he left about a $2 billion hole in the budget. The proof of that is pretty simple. The legislature itself, my Republican House and Senate, went into session, passed temporary taxes to fill the hole. That hole was there when he got there. To say otherwise is just simply not true. There's no way John Bell Edwards created this deficit. No one comes into office wanting to talk about the things this guy's had to talk about. You want to come into office, hopefully, when you have some funds. The truth is there was a $2 billion deficit. Most of it created because Bobby Jindal had spent all of his time sweeping funds, one-time money in the budget. For example, the year before John Bell came in office, there was $800 million in one-time money. Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure out if one-time money's gone in a year, you start out with that $800 million hole. Add that to all of the cuts and the other things that Bobby said he was making that just never happened. And so when John Bell gets in office, he's 6 months into the year. I saw a very similar thing happen when my friend Dave Shrem was governor. He repealed income taxes. Going into his last year, he was out of money. He ended up writing a budget for 6 months. That's pretty much what Bobby did.
But, Mr. Allen, you had said that, and you can finish the sentence because you were the one who said it originally. If this legislature passed the last Jindal budget, finish up.
Well, again, it goes back to, if we pass the last general budget, we would have about a $4 to $5 billion surplus right now. And it goes back to the question of deficit. And I said, if there's a deficit, there cannot be a deficit in Louisiana. And anytime you hear the governor say there's a deficit, anytime you hear Mr. Adley say there's a deficit, got to keep in mind that that's not a true statement. We all hear deficits. We talk about deficits in the terms of Washington, D.C. We know what a deficit is. A deficit is when the government spends more money than it brings in. Louisiana does not do that. We have a balanced budget amendment. We cannot spend more or less than the state brings in. So when the governor says we have a deficit, what that means is he wants to spend more than he's going to have. That's it. Mm-hmm. He wants to spend more than the Revenue Estimating Conference tells him he's going to have. That's his definition of a deficit. That's not a deficit like they have in Washington where they actually spend more than is coming in and run a negative balance. Mm-hmm. We don't run a negative balance in Louisiana. And there was a comment about Jindal's last couple of budgets. I don't disagree with that. But you got to keep in mind, I was not a supporter of Jindal's budget practices, but John Bell was. John Bell voted for 6 out of 8 of Bobby Jindal's budgets. I voted for, I think, 2 out of 5 the 5 years I was there. I voted against the one-time money every time John Bell supported it. So, to say that, I'd reject the premise that there is a deficit. And the fact that, again, if you look at what the spending, what the size of government was when Bobby Jindal left office, it was about $5 billion a year less than it is right now. So to say that, he's doing with less money is just not true.
Let me ask y'all this, and we'll start, Robert. I'll start.
Wait a minute. We need to clarify what a deficit is.
Okay.
For Alan to sit here and tell you there's no such thing as a deficit, it's just absolutely false. When the legislature passes its budget, and Alan knows, when they pass the budget, it's based on a revenue estimate they have, based upon the amount of funds they believe they're going to receive during the year. If those funds do not materialize, you then have a deficit. That's a fact. In your household,
if I plan
in
on
your
own
household,
bonus,
if you plan the year out and money goes
right,
and the revenue you thought was coming in, you have a deficit. To sit here and say that the government doesn't have a deficit is absolutely ludicrous. To sit here and say that the budget was actually bigger is also wrong.
So did we plan the revenues wrong? Did we not estimate what was coming
in
wrong?
We have a revenue estimating conference that estimates what they think your revenue stream is going to be. Couple that with a budget that the legislature is given to pass that also recognizes certain cuts and other things that are going to happen. If those things do not happen And they didn't happen under Bobby Jindal. Many of the recommendations they had, I'll give you a prime example. I sat in the room with one of the department heads that was there with Bobby Jindal when they came in and swept some $500,000 in funds, but reported to the legislature that it was $1 million. So when the legislature prepared their budget, they spent $500,000 more than revenue that they were going to have. They didn't know it at the time, but by January, when the bills get paid, then a deficit occurs.
Mm-hmm.
To say there's no such thing as a deficit is just outrageous. To also say that this budget is bigger, it is bigger because of federal money.
Let me ask you that, because it's a $28 billion budget. It's the biggest we've ever had. And I don't understand.
Let me share that with you. This y'all are on a very critical point. The state of Louisiana is getting more federal dollars today than it ever has before. That is a good thing. That's getting money from Washington, taxpayer money that's ours.
That's still my money.
Let me give you an example. They're going to spend it in New York if we don't take it. But let me show you. John Bell saved $300 million in the state general fund. This $3.4 billion that happens to be $1 billion less than it was in 2008. He saved $300 million by taking more federal money. And let me tell you how. When he did his Medicaid expansion, we have Medicaid citizens in this state, just like in every state. The match for Louisiana before the expansion to get the federal money was 62%, 62 cents on the dollar. When we did the expansion, the match became 5 cents on the dollar. That in itself saved $300 million in the budget. It raised the overall budget because of federal money. Now, let me make this clear. One thing people need to understand about federal money. To use that in this discussion is so wrong, because to spend the federal money you receive from the feds in any other manner than they dictate is illegal. You can't use it in the state general fund. Now, Alan, you know that.
Hang on a second, gentlemen. We got to go to break. When we
Right.
come back, Mr. Allen gets to go, and I have, we'll go to sports. We've got a couple of other things. Hold your thoughts. 19 past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic time. Here's Ruben.
Just received reports of a major accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. And we're dealing with some traffic delays on Airline Drive just north of Shed Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Twenty-one past 7 o'clock, time for KEEL Sports. Here's Tim.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Kevin Falk is apparently coming home. One of LSU's greatest running backs of all time is expected to join Ed Orgeron's staff as a member of the support staff. The 41-year-old Falk currently is a coach at his alma mater at Karen Crow High School. He was a three-time All-SEC running back in Baton Rouge and three-time Super Bowl winner with New England. The Northwestern State Demons dropped their ninth straight game, falling 75-52 to Sam Houston State on the road Wednesday. The Bearcats have now won 5 straight games. Ishmael Lane led the Demons with 20 points and 13 rebounds. Meanwhile, in Natchitoches, the Lady Demons picked up their first Southland Conference win of the season with a 63-60 win over Sam Houston State. Sophomore Jasmine Johnson led Northwestern with a career-high 21 points and added 6 steals. And if you've got a hankering for high school hoops, you're in luck because of the inclement weather and the cancellation of Tuesday's games. There is a glut of games that have been moved to Thursday and Saturday to make up for Tuesday's cancellations. Add that to the already scheduled games Friday, and you can't throw a rock without hitting a high school basketball game over these next 3 days. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Twenty-four past 7 o'clock. Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. In studio guests, former Senator Robert Adley and Representative Alan Seabaugh. Okay, so Mr. Allen, it's your turn. Let me sort of set this up for you. At least I think I just heard Mr. Roberts say that there is, in fact, a state deficit, and if it weren't for the fiscal conservatism of John Bell Edwards, it would be worse.
All right, first of all...
And it's good to have a $28 billion budget.
I do want to clarify. We're talking about two different things. The deficit that I'm saying doesn't exist is next year. He was talking about a mid-year deficit. That's possible. I will concede that. That's not what I said. You can, if revenue is projected and it comes in less, you can have a deficit within the year. The way to solve that is you cut spending. You have mid-year cuts.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what the debate is about right now.
And we do that every year.
The debate is, yes, because the Revenue Estimating Conference misses by an average of $200 to $300 million every year. So yes, we have to, and they're almost never high. They're always overestimate. What we're talking about right now for the upcoming year is the deficit the governor's talking about now is the upcoming year, which, again, I will maintain that doesn't exist. The Revenue Estimating Conference tells us how much money we're going to have. That's how much we spend. Saying I want to spend more than that, and therefore we have a deficit, is just not accurate. The Revenue Estimating Conference meets and tells us what we have to spend. It is not a perfect system because, again, they're wrong by $200 to $300 million every year. What the House tried to do last year was spend $300 million less than the Revenue Estimating Conference estimated. That way, when they missed it, we wouldn't have to cut anything. And if they actually hit it, or maybe it was a little higher, then we would have extra money that we could give for infrastructure. And the Constitution lists 6 things that you could spend a surplus on. Governor wouldn't have it. He would not agree to a single cut of anything. Mr. Adley came on the other time, and one of the comments that I made last time was in response to the governor putting out the deal saying he made $600 million in cuts. And that's just not true. It's like a family looking at their budget and saying, okay, we're going to spend this week, we're going to spend $20 more on beer, but $5 less on milk, and we're going to say we cut our budget by $5. Well, you didn't cut your budget by $5. You increased it by $15. Yes, you spent $5 less on milk than you did before, but that's not a cut. That's a $15 increase, and that's what we've got here. We've got a budget that has gone from 23 to 28 billion. General fund money's up, federal money's up. It's up across the board. And to say that the problem with federal money, and he's right about you're restricted in how you can spend it. But here's the problem. In order to get the federal money, you have to spend state money. You have to spend state tax dollars to get it. And it's like the feds are like a drug dealer who give it to you cheap in the beginning and they get you addicted and you can't get off of it. the way every single dollar that we get of federal money, and yes, some of them are 3-to-1 match. We spend $1, we get $3 from the feds. There's two problems with that. The $1 that we spent was taken out of the pocket of a Louisiana taxpayer, and the $3 that came back from the feds came back with strings attached saying you can spend it, you have to spend it here. So we don't have the discretion of spending it where we want to spend it. If we had not paid for the drugs, bought it from the feds, used that dollar of that was taken out of the pocket of the Louisiana taxpayer, then we would be able to spend that dollar on higher ed or anything else that we wanted to. And we've got to get out of that cycle. And to sit there and say, yes, the federal money's there, and if we don't take it, they'll give it to somebody else. That's like telling your kids it's okay to take the drugs from the drug dealer because if you don't, he's just going to give them to somebody else.
Excuse me, Alan.
If it's bad, it's bad. You don't have to take it.
Robert, we got just a couple of minutes. Is Alan right?
I was hoping to find out is there any time left in this hour?
You have all the time you want until Erin yells stop. Does John Bell really want to spend more than we have?
No. John Bell Edwards has made it very, very clear. He does not want to spend more than we have. But, Alan, tell the people the damn truth for a change. The truth is simple. The legislature passed over $1 billion in temporary taxes, and those taxes go off this year, and the Revenue Estimating Conference has already told you you're going to be short $1 billion from your budget last year.
That doesn't make it a deficit.
That means
we
Alan,
spend $1 billion
I
less.
listened to you very carefully, and I didn't interrupt you at all. And I know you have a habit of doing that, but I'm going to ask you while I'm sitting here that you treat your elders with a little respect. And let me tell you, Alan, the truth is you passed temporary taxes. They're going off. That leaves $1 billion hole. Now, let's also tell the public the truth. You said the House wanted to cut $300 million. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. The only thing that the House brought out of its Appropriations Committee, in addition to the $600 million that John Bell cut. Now, let me just tell you, you said he didn't cut $600 million. I'm going to give you some of them. Let me just give you some examples. $20 million came out of higher ed. We lost $90 million out of TOPS. We lost $10 million out of corrections, $23 million out of contracts, $304 million from the Department of Health. And then you add up all of those, and you start adding to that the million here and the million there, you get up to $600 million. Now, if you don't believe that, just ask the Legislative Fiscal Office. They will tell you he cut $600 million. John Bell has made it very, very clear. He didn't want to spend more. If the revenue estimate says we got more money, he says the cliff will be reduced. Whatever he does, he wants it to be revenue neutral. Now, look, this is very important. When you sit here and told these good people that y'all wanted to cut $300 million, it's just a damn lie.
Did you look
at
the
budget? I did.
I
watched you on the floor. I'm there every day, Alan, and what came out of the Appropriations Committee, the most cuts the legislature in the House could get out of the committee over and above the $600 million that John Bell had was $30 million. And when you came to the floor with the $30 million, you couldn't get the votes to pass the you couldn't get the votes to pass the $30 million. The most you could pass was $10 million. So don't sit here and say the House wanted to do something. You might have wanted to do something, but when the House voted, they only voted for about 10. Now, if they can only find $10 million over and above what the governor's already cut, how in the world are they going to go ahead and find this $1 billion cliff to cut?
Excuse me,
That's
Robert,
what I want to know. I want to know what you're going to cut.
Can you give me about 60 or 75 seconds?
That is absolutely, everything he just said is not true. Nothing he said is true. You're talking about you're only talking about what happened during the second special. If you look at the regular session last year, the budget that we passed out of committee and off the House floor, we tried to pass it at 300. It passed to the Senate at 200 million under the Revenue Estimating Conference. That's a fact, and you can look it up. What you're talking about was the second special after we didn't get it passed in the regular session. So you're jumping to the fourth quarter and saying that's all that matters. That's absolutely not true. The House, the budget that we introduced was $300 million less than the Revenue Estimating Conference. It came out at $200 million, and the Senate and the governor refused to negotiate, saying we're going to spend 100%, and they refused to talk about a dime less. And what he said is correct. 10 Republicans switched over and voted with the Democrats and with the governor and voted to bust the budget and spend every penny that we had, which is fiscally irresponsible in my opinion.
Now, let me describe fiscal irresponsibility. Wait a minute. You ask us here. Bear with me. He's right. They sent $200 million over to the Senate. What he didn't tell you was the House didn't say cut this, cut this, cut this. The House did the most irresponsible thing they could do. They sent a budget over there with a piece of language that said, cut $200 million. We don't care where it is, but you have to do it. We can't do it. Now, that's irresponsible, and nobody's going to pass that.
When we come back, Mr. Allen, the question will be, is the state's financial troubles, what Mr. Roberts seems to be saying, the fault of the House of Representatives?
And what's the governor going to announce tomorrow or now Monday with regard to a budget? We got a big pending announcement coming.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic update just ahead of Erin and local news. Here's Ruben.
Just received reports of a major accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. And we're dealing with some traffic delays on Airline Drive just north of Shed Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
It's back to the books for students in our area, with the exception of Herndon, which has no water. Now, we do remain under a hard freeze warning. I-49 and 220 are back open. Other roads across the state closed. Transportation Department's Rodney Mallett says I-12 is still shut down. He says some of the most severe freezing he's seen in a while.
So we did lose 12, and at one point 12, it wasn't even just the bridges. Even the ground level roads started to freeze over.
Now, thanks to below freezing temps, many homes and businesses are having trouble with frozen and busted pipes. Plumbers in the area say they're booked solid due to all the issues caused by the weather. Many in Stonewall, Kingston, and Frierson have been without power due to a substation failure. SWEPCO is asking residents in those areas to conserve energy so they can get power restored to those without. System manager Rick Kane says the electricity load is extremely high due to this cold weather. State DOTD Secretary Dr. Sean Wilson telling KEEL News South Louisiana continues to feel the effects of this storm.
Normally we would concentrate on our bridges because our roads don't normally freeze. The problems we're having is in this temperature, this low temperature that hadn't been this low, I think, since 77, and maybe even longer than that in some of the southern parts of the state. The roads are freezing.
Our temperature will climb above freezing sometime later today. Shreveport police looking for a man who robbed the Carter Federal Credit Union inside the Kroger on Uri Drive. Police say the man jumped the counter, pointed a gun at the clerk, and demanded cash. Preparing for more cuts. We get that message from Dr. Jim Henderson, head of the University of Louisiana system.
In a conference call with some of his staff last week, we were told to expect as much as a $233 million reduction in TOPS.
Wow.
And a $26 million reduction in operations for our universities. It's just not sustainable, and it's not good for Louisiana.
Dr. Henderson says higher ed is one of the few unprotected areas in the state's budget. Southern University had some unwanted visitors. Matt Parker with that.
The campus of Southern University in Shreveport has turned into a hunting ground thanks to some uninvited guests, wild boars. Cattle Animal Control and several private companies have captured over 50 hogs in traps on the campus grounds over the past year. Officials say they have no idea how many more packs are roaming the area, but have traps set that are full almost every morning. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Shreveport firefighters investigating a possible explosion and fire at the Calumet refinery on Midway Avenue. Fire officials got numerous calls from residents who heard an explosion and saw a glow. No one was hurt. Louisiana continues to suffer through its worst flu season on record, with nearly 10 in 100 doctor visits in the last month for flu-related symptoms. Immunization Director Frank Welch says every few years the country's hit with a particularly nasty strain of the flu known as H3N2, but this year's strain is even more resilient than usual. Welch says that means more severe symptoms.
More people get the flu, it's more contagious, and it's more serious. Rather than being sick 3 or 4 days, people are sick 5 to 7 days.
Welch says complications from the flu kills about 700 residents in our state every year. A man changing a flat tire on 3132 is shot. It happened overnight. The man's 50 years old, his wound considered life-threatening. The grandparents of 13 starved and tortured children say their son's family looked happy and healthy when they last visited California 6 years ago. Betty and James Turpin of West Virginia say they were in shock when they learned of the arrest of their son David Turpin and his wife Louise. Uber says some passengers soon won't have to look at their app to get a peek at the driver who's coming to get them because there won't be a driver. The company plans to carry passengers in autonomous vehicles without human backup drivers. They say the change could happen as early as next year. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
1017 FM 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty. 1017 FM 710 Keel, and the Keel app, a free download from Office Furniture Source. Former Senator Robert Adley is in studio, as is State Representative Alan Seabaugh. So, Mr. Allen, your turn. Do I understand this correctly, that the entire fiscal problem, everything, all the money problems Louisiana faces, is the fault of the state legislature, specifically the House of Representatives?
Apparently only in Robert's mind. And look, with all due respect to my elderly colleague, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And the fact is, since this governor has come in office, we've raised taxes on the working people of Louisiana by $2.8 billion, and we've raised the budget by about $5 billion. This governor's legacy is increasing taxes and expanding the size and scope of state government, and that's a fact. You can't look at a budget and not conclude that. I mean, you look at the fiscal notes of the taxes that were passed and look at the budget that was spent. I mean, that's just a fact. This governor's legacy is increasing taxes on people by $2.8 billion and then constantly screaming, it's not enough, it's not enough. And look, in my opinion, he lost all credibility when he went on TV and said, we're not going to have enough money for college football. That's one of the most ridiculous things I have ever seen a politician say. It was never true. And I think his credibility has gone downhill after that. He's spending money, frankly, like an irresponsible teenager. Give me more, give me more, give me more. And the bottom line is an irresponsible teenager is going to keep spending more, more, more until somebody tells them no.
Why can't, and this may be for Robert, why can't state agencies cut? You have got to admit there's still some waste in government.
Erin, there's waste in everything. I don't deny that. But look, let me tell you, there are three kinds of lies in the world. There's a lie, there's a damn lie, and there's statistics and how you use those statistics. Now, just listen to Alan with these very false statistics. The budget, the discretionary part of the budget, the only thing that John Bell has anything to do with, the only thing the legislature's got anything to do with, is $1 billion less than it was in 2008. The only thing that has gone up is federal money. This drug dealer that Alan talks about. Now, let me tell you where this drug dealer's money's going.
You're talking about the feds now.
I'm talking about the federal
Figuratively
money
speaking.
that Alan says, well, we can't take that. LSU Med School and that hospital runs totally off of federal money. If there were no federal money, it wouldn't be there. And if it weren't there, 20 to 30% of your entire economy in Shreveport, Alan, would be gone. Look, to relate that to a drug dealer is just absolutely absurd. Now, this is the one piece that he forgets to tell you. And I happen to be there, happen to be very responsible for it. Even Moongraphone called me up and said, what a wonderful job you did, Robert. When Buddy Shaw had the bill to repeal Stelly, it was dead in committee. I am the person that got it out. Once it came out, it's going to pass. Now, Alan, what you're not telling the public is this, that when we passed that in 2007 and 8, and then it went into effect in 2009, that returned over $7 billion to the public. Over $7 billion. I thought that was a good thing. But there are consequences that come from removing $7 billion in revenue. And those consequences have resulted in a $2 billion deficit that Jindal tried to deal with himself using his one-time money and funds. But that's gone now. To sit here and say that this guy's taken away the money from the public, the truth is John Bell voted for repealing the Stelly and giving them back $7 billion, as did I, and I certainly assume you did.
I wasn't there yet.
Well, if you weren't there, then you can't even take responsibility for what we gave back. $7 billion. And now you have the results is a $2 billion deficit, so you pass a temporary relief plan for $2 billion. The truth is there's been a net gain to the taxpayers of over $5 billion.
Alan, what's the biggest flaw in his argument?
Using the 2008 number, the discretionary spending, the general fund is up $1 billion to $1.5 billion since John Bell got there. He keeps using 2008. Liberals love to use 2008. 2008 was an anomaly. If you look at the years before 2008 and the years after 2009, it came back down. 2008 was the biggest budget that we'd had because of three things. Stelly was still on the books. Oil was $100 a barrel, and Katrina money. So 2008 was a blip. So if you compare now to 2009, it's considerably higher than it was. If 2010, it's considerably higher. And if you look at the budget before John Bell came in, it's about $1.5 billion more than it was then. Or it's between $1 billion and $1.5 billion. I'm not exactly sure what the number is, but the fact is it's gone up. Going back to 2009 is simply dishonest. Or using the 2008 number is dishonest because it was a blip. No matter what pie graph or chart you look at, there's a steady increase. 2008 and to some extent 2009, there's a spike, and then it comes back down. If you take those two off, it's a pretty steady increase up until right before John Bell gets elected, and then it spikes again. It spikes again because of the tax increases that he pushed through, which were temporary. And the reason they were temporary is because the deal was made. We did not want to vote for tax increases. By the way, I voted against all of them. But we did not want to raise taxes. But a compromise was made among some Republicans in the House who said, okay, we will pass them, but they're going to be temporary. And what we're supposed to do while they're temporary is find something to cut in the budget because we know that they're going away. We put a sunset on them. That gives us a couple of years to work on the budget, to bring some things down, to bring some dollars. No, absolutely not. Because every time we've tried, the governor has refused to negotiate at all. And that's the problem that we're at right now. This fiscal cliff that he keeps talking about, he wants to fill it with taxes. We've tried to say, okay, we might even agree. Let's do half of it with cuts and half of it with some more temporary taxes to bridge the gap. But he won't give us any specifics on cuts. We'll see it when he comes out with his budget Monday, I guess. I thought it was going to be tomorrow. I would imagine that it's probably going to cut TOPS. He's going to cut higher ed. He's going to cut things that are noticeable, things that affect people.
Jim Henderson told us yesterday he's been told $233 million in cuts to TOPS and $26 million to higher ed is what he's been told.
Completely not necessary. There's plenty of places that you can cut without going there. What he's cutting is things that people see, things that'll affect people, because what he's trying to do is get people to call us and say, please raise my taxes. Since he's started, and he's going on TV and getting everybody to try to get everybody to call and tell us to raise taxes, I've had one constituent email me and say, please raise my taxes. And that was a response to something I said on your show when I said nobody has called me and said, please raise my taxes. I get hundreds and hundreds of phone calls and emails saying, please don't. I mean, the fact of the matter is, the people back home get it a lot more than the legislature does, to be honest. Louisiana does not have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. That is a fact. If you look at per capita spending, no matter how you look at it, we spend more money as a state per capita. You pointed out last week, population's going down, but spending is going up. That doesn't make sense. And saying that's a good thing is nonsensical.
Pardon me, gentlemen. We got to take another break. When we come back, Mr. Robert, you get a chance to retort, refute, and answer.
Thank you very much.
And I want to also ask you guys about these proposed tax changes to keep this revenue neutral that the governor keeps saying.
Going to have to do that fast.
Yeah.
1017 FM, 710 Keel traffic time. Here's Ruben.
Still keeping a close eye on some slow-moving traffic on I-49 northbound due to a major accident between Kings Highway and Hollywood Avenue. And we're dealing with some traffic delays on Uri Drive and Southfield Road. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Mostly sunny today. Not as cold in the afternoon with a high of 43. Turning partly cloudy and cold. Low 27 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zaire.
753, 1017 FM, 710 Keel, Robert and Erin in studio. State Representative Alan Seabaugh and former State Senator Robert Adley. So I think we'll both agree, we can all agree that Adley, when John Bell talks about fiscal cliff, the plan is to spend more than we actually have.
No.
No?
No. Now, that's where Alan is so very, very wrong. Alan, again, has to, and now he voted no, so I get it. I understand where he is. But the truth is the entire legislature voted to put this temporary penny on the people of Louisiana. That was an increase in a tax. It was. The legislature did that because they had a temporary, they thought, shortfall of $2 billion.
Mm-hmm.
But now that goes off this year.
Yep.
So now you're left with this $1 billion cliff. Now, Alan says that they passed it temporarily, that you voted against. You didn't pass it under any circumstances. He says that the others, and what he thought they were thinking was that they passed it because they could go find more cuts. That's absolutely not true.
Well, Mr. Robert, what's the solution to the cliff?
Bear with me. The legislature themselves did a very good thing. When they passed that temporary tax, they also passed the creation of a committee made up of professional people to go spend an entire year to put together what was needed to reform Louisiana's tax structure. The legislature asked for that. Now they have met, they've come back, and they've made all of these recommendations. The governor has adopted any of them that the legislature wants to pass. They are the legislative ideas. Now, I understand you didn't vote for the budget to begin with, and you're not going to vote for any of this either. But all of those other people who did, who voted for the temporary measure, pending this report, they now have that report. And so everything that you're seeing coming from the governor is coming as a result of that committee created by the legislature. And the governor has said, you know, whatever you want to pass, it's okay with me, but we need to structurally
Excuse me, gentlemen,
fix this place.
we are short on time in the hour. Okay, Mr. Allen, and then Robert to wrap up. If there's not enough money, or we're going to spend more than we got, you can define it, and we've discussed that for an hour. How do we fix the problem?
We've got to cut. We have two choices. I mean, it's a twofold problem. You can raise taxes and give the governor what he wants, or you can find spending cuts, or you can do some combination of the two.
But so much is protected. That's the problem.
I agree, the discretion, and that's one of the things I think we do agree about, that too much of it's protected. There was a pretty good bill last year to try to undedicate some of that, and we couldn't get any traction with it. I do agree. We've actually found something that we agree on, the committee and the recommendations that they made. But the problem is that it's a twofold problem. There's revenue, which the committee addressed, but they were also supposed to address spending cuts. And they didn't. They made a couple of references to it, but so far half of the equation of whether it's taxes, revenue, and spending, the governor only wants to talk about the spending side. Excuse me, the tax side. Give me more, give me more, give me more. We'll talk about spending once we figure out how much we've got. The rest of us, or the people on my side, are looking at it saying it's a two-pronged problem. You can't have a budget without the revenue and the spending. So since we're in this problem, and we have a fundamental disagreement in how to get out of it, and some of us don't want to raise taxes, and the governor doesn't want to cut spending. So the bottom line is we're both going to have to give a little bit, probably, and meet somewhere in the middle. Whether it's half of the penny, I have no idea. The reason everybody keeps going back to the penny is it's the one tax that has some Republican support.
Excuse me, Alan, pardon me. Robert, we got just about a minute to wrap up. What's the solution?
It's simple. He's not raising taxes. He is taking the highest sales tax in the country that the legislature passed and asking you to replace it. This is very simple, y'all. Everybody agrees. He had a $2 billion problem when he came in office. To replace that temporary tax is $1 billion. The only other way you solve the other billion was that he cut that other billion. I mean, that's a fact.
It's not
all he's asking. Excuse me. Yes, he did. And I gave you the list a minute ago. And I'm going to tell you this, Alan. I sit in that office a lot, and I meet with our colleagues in the House, and I've never seen your smiling face there. I've never seen you put up one single bill to reform budgets in this state. I've never seen you put up one bill to reform taxes in this state. None.
Then you had
and Alan, wait a minute now. Alan, and you vote, Alan, give me my clothes. And you vote against everything. That's easy
I'll vote against
politics.
everything
That's
bad.
easy politics. And that's demagoguery to its worst degree. It will not solve the problem. The solution, these things that this committee came out of, that the legislature asked for, that the legislature themselves asked for, are basically exactly the same things that came out of a very similar committee in 1988 under Buddy Rome.
We're going to get cut off real quick,
The
Alan.
structure has to change.
Real quick.
I agree. The structure has to change, and the problem is, I mean, Mr. Adley has been there since the 70s. He's the poster boy for why we needed term limits. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we've been going down the road the wrong way for 40-something years. It's time we did something different. We, the young folks in the House Republican caucus, are trying to change and get us out of this cycle of having the same old problem every year.
Pardon me,
Now,
gentlemen.
listen, I will just say this. You have to notice one thing in all of these
We're gonna
comments.
get cut off by the
never,
network.
never
Adley,
did he give you one
Representative
specific
Alan Seabaugh,
cut.
traffic
He has
update.
never
Here's
cut
Ruben.
anything.
The intersection at North Hearn Avenue and 4th Street's dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have reports of a minor accident on Barksdale Boulevard near
Breaking
Bone Street.
news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport.
It is 3 past 8 o'clock, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Robert and Erin down yonder. Miss Erin's got local news up next.
Hard freeze warning continues today, and we've got a huge impact in the southern part of the state. We'll talk more about that. Guy robs a bank inside a local grocery store, and the flu bug still hard hitting.
A little bit of a review, a look back at our interesting hour with Messrs. Adley and Seabaugh. And, okay, you got a plumber going to come up in a couple of seconds. What's the deal?
Yeah, Sam Bird is going to talk with us about some plumbing issues people are having all over town.
You know what that means. Erin has plumbing issues.
No, I'm good.
Fletcher in sports, traffic and weather. Not those kind. Traffic and weather. All this hour coming up on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
We remain under a hard freeze warning until later today. This winter storm has gripped our entire state. Now, locally, schools are back open except for Herndon in North Caddo Parish. The school has no water. State DOTD Secretary Dr. Sean Wilson telling KEEL News this storm is impacting all of our state.
Well, absolutely. I will tell you, I just posted to Twitter not so long ago that the road that is farthest south in Louisiana, LA1 down in Grand Isle, has ice on it. And so that just tells you how significant of an event we're dealing with here across the entire state.
Rodney Mallett says crews worked hard to keep a few key areas in the southern part of the state open.
We followed our plan. We pre-treated. We salted the Mississippi River Bridge on I-10, the elevated portions of I-10, and the bridges on I-12.
Locally, I-220 and I-49 are now back open. Thanks to below freezing temps, many homes and businesses are having trouble with frozen pipes. Plumbers in the area say they're booked solid due to all the issues caused by the weather. Expert plumbers say if you have a frozen pipe, you have to thaw it properly or it will bust. One of the best things you can do is open the cabinets and doors near your outside pipes to allow warm air to permeate the wall and hopefully prevent freezing or slowly thaw. A gunman robs a bank in Shreveport. Matt Parker with that.
Shreveport police are on the hunt for a man who robbed the Carter Federal Credit Union inside Kroger on Uri Drive Wednesday morning. Police say the man jumped across the counter, pointed a gun at the clerk, and demanded money. The masked man escaped with an undisclosed amount of cash and was seen fleeing in a Chevy pickup truck. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Worst flu season on record this year. Nearly 10 in 100 doctor visits for flu-related symptoms. Dr. Frank Welch says in his 20 years of doing this, he's never seen so many cases.
We are almost double the national average. The national average is terrible, so we're really getting hit hard in Louisiana.
Welch says complications from the flu kills about 700 Louisiana residents every year. Shreveport firefighters investigating a possible explosion and fire at the Calumet refinery on Midway. Fire department officials say they got several calls Wednesday night from residents who heard an explosion and saw a glow coming from the plant. The Calumet Fire Brigade says there was an incident with a steam boiler that caused a fire. No injuries reported. More budget cuts could be hitting higher ed. Dr. Jim Henderson, president and CEO of the University of Louisiana System, says the governor's hands will be tied.
I don't think we can afford cuts to higher ed. Unfortunately, the way this process works, I believe the governor is limited to where he can make cuts to those areas that are not statutorily or constitutionally protected. And as a result of that, higher education is one of the main targets.
Henderson says he was told to expect a cut to tops of $233 million and a cut of $26 million for universities. Many in Stonewall, Kingston, and Frierson have been without power due to a substation failure. SWEPCO is asking residents in those areas to conserve energy so they can get power restored to those without. A 50-year-old man fighting for his life after being shot early today on 3132. The man was apparently changing a flat tire when he was hit by a bullet. His injuries are considered life-threatening. Immigration officials will release details about the next steps for Haitians in the U.S. on temporary protected status. The Trump administration delayed the process of re-registering some 60,000 Haitians with the special status, resulting in their facing employment and travel hurdles. Fort Collins, Colorado judges in the middle of a debate over topless women. Right now, going topless for women is banned in the community, but a group is challenging that law. No ruling yet. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
It is 10 past 8 o'clock. Time for KEEL Traffic Update. Hey, Ruben.
Still keeping a close eye on some slow-moving traffic on I-49 northbound due to a major accident between Kings Highway and Hollywood Avenue. And we're dealing with some traffic delays on Uri Drive and Southfield Road. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
People make your business work. But how do you find the right talent? ZipRecruiter. One click posts your job to over 100 top job.
Good morning. It's 812, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Don't forget the KEEL app's a free download from Office Furniture Source. Let's see. Mr. Sam Bird is with Payne Mechanical Services, and he is going to spend about 5 minutes with us, which is the only spare 5 minutes he will have between now and probably Labor Day. Hey, Mr. Sam, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. How about y'all this morning?
Good.
Well, what are you doing? How long are you going to be doing it?
3 years.
Are you going insane? Do you have a spare moment? Fill us in on the state of plumbing in the Arklatex.
Yeah, right now, well, there's not a plumber that's not busy right now, of course. Yeah, we'll probably be busy at least through all this week and into next week for sure. Just strictly the busted pipe.
Your advice to folks who maybe have a plumbing issue at their house? Are there things they can do to try to solve the problem
maybe
before calling you?
or mitigate the damage?
Yeah, there is some things that they could do depending on the structure of the house. If it's a pier and beam house and they're not getting any water out of the faucet, best thing to do is leave your faucets open if you're going to be at home. And hopefully the weather today will allow it to thaw out on its own. If they really want to be ambitious, they can get up underneath the house also. If you have even a hair dryer would work, but be careful especially if the ground is wet and you have an electric cord and that kind of stuff up underneath there.
Will today be the day that people realize their pipes are burst? Because this will be the first time that we'll get above freezing and we'll realize that, oh gosh, we have a problem?
Oh yes, definitely. Today will be a true day on who's got busted pipes or were just froze up. Of course, we've already started getting some of them that were broke, like the ones that are in the attic spaces and stuff of that nature already, where the heat from the home has caused them to go ahead and start leaking. But, yeah, today will be a true tale of it.
Got pictures from people, and my brother did something, but got pictures from people using hair dryers. My brother put some hot coals out by his water main. He lost. Are those things recommended or not?
Well, I always caution anybody that's going to try to do it, especially using electric around water. I mean, that is just something you have to be very, very careful of. The best thing to do really is just to let nature take its course. You can open up your cabinet doors and stuff of that and try to let the heat circulate inside your cabinets to kind of help out. But really just water and electricity sure don't mix, so you have to be very careful if you try something along that line.
What if there is somebody that maybe is talking to you at this moment whose toilet bowl won't fill up with water? The water in the house is fine, everything is good, the bathtub works, but the toilet bowl won't fill up.
Theoretically.
Mr.
Just only theoretically. Yeah.
That's going to be the fill valve more than likely that's the problem, which would be an easy fix.
Okay. Is that something that a moron could fix?
Most any of them can, yes. But there are a few that get involved and can't.
Erin made an interesting point a couple of seconds ago about her brother down in Baton Rouge who tried to thaw out his pipes with hot coals. I'm not exactly sure how he did that. But assuming for the moment that this is not your first or second week on the job, you have to, in previous years, seen some pretty interesting ways that people tried to solve their own problems. Would you, off the top of your head, have one or two that resulted in disaster?
Well, of course, what usually happens is they get in there and start trying to make repairs themselves and realize it's a little bit more to it than just cutting out a piece of pipe and putting a coupling on there, because they're having to deal with the water at that point. And I've had them go ahead and cut it loose where they cut it below where the line was actually frozen, and now they got water going everywhere. So they didn't turn the water off before they started to make the repairs.
So basically, you would say, look, this is serious stuff. You're only going to make it worse. Don't try it yourself. Is that sort of it?
That is correct. If you really don't know what you're doing, you're going to end up costing yourself more money in the long run. So,
Sam Bird with the Payne Mechanical Group. What's the wait to get a plumber? I mean, people that realize they need a plumber today, is it going to be today? Are people going to be able to get a plumber today?
For the most part, they might be able to, honestly. From what I've got on my schedule today, I could probably work a couple in at the end of the day, early into the evenings, and then if not, definitely by the next day, So, and that's the way most of them are working right now. So all the plumbers I've talked to is their current days are usually booked by the end of that day.
Mr. Sam, pardon me, it's going to be like 15, 18, 20 degrees again tonight, maybe low 20s. Are we, after tonight, is it just going to be back to step one, problem one again?
Yes, if you don't take precaution again after the first go-round, it will do it again, even at my own house. I live out on Lake Bisno, and, of course, every morning when I leave, I drain my pipes down and all that. But when I got home last night about 8 o'clock, mine were froze up, and I had to get up underneath there and thaw them out so I'd have water. So,
how do you thaw them out? What does a plumber do to thaw out his pipes?
Well, we use
Pardon me. It ain't hot coals.
Yeah.
No, it's not hot coals. Most of us use a torch, hand torch.
You don't advise that to the normal guy,
No,
right?
no, because you can catch something on fire real quick if you're not real careful with it.
Is it necessary? And because if you talk to 5 people, you get 5 different answers. Do you recommend dripping the pipe, running the water a little bit?
Yes, when it gets into the teens like this, actually a little more than a drip, just a small stream is better. But yes, running your water is the best thing you can do. Just leave it on and run. But get there again, you want to be at home if you're doing that.
And do you recommend that for houses on slabs also, not just ones that are up off the ground?
That is correct. Slab houses, anything that's on an outside wall, you need to let run. Now, ones that are on the interior walls and stuff, you probably don't have to worry about those at all if you keep your heat on in the house. But anything to an outside wall, definitely you want to leave running.
One last thing for the moron in the room. If we have not had a problem with our water up until now, are we good? Are we out of the woods?
Yes, if you've survived these last few days, then you should be fine.
Okay. I'll tell the moron in the room that, Sam. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Mr. Sam Bird, Payne Mechanical, appreciate your time. Thank you much. 19 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. The non-moron, I just don't turn the water on. Have it shipped in. Traffic update. Ruben's here.
Keeping an eye right now on some heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up to Airline Drive right now. And we're still dealing with that major accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Twenty-one past 8 o'clock. Time for Keel Sports. Here's Tim.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Kevin Falk is apparently coming home. One of LSU's greatest running backs of all time is expected to join Ed Orgeron's staff as a member of the support staff. The 41-year-old Falk currently is a coach at his alma mater at Karen Crow High School. He was a 3-time All-SEC running back in Baton Rouge and 3-time Super Bowl winner with New England. The Northwestern State Demons dropped their 9th straight game, falling 75-52 to Sam Houston State on the road Wednesday. The Bearcats have now won 5 straight games. Ishmael Lane led the Demons with 20 points and 13 rebounds. Meanwhile, in Natchitoches, the Lady Demons picked up their first Southland Conference win of the season with a 63-60 win over Sam Houston State. Sophomore Jasmine Johnson led Northwestern with a career-high 21 points and added 6 steals. And if you've got a hankering for high school hoops, you're in luck because of the inclement weather and the cancellation of Tuesday's games. There is a glut of games that have been moved to Thursday and Saturday to make up for Tuesday's cancellations. Add that to the already scheduled games Friday, and you can't throw a rock without hitting a high school basketball game over these next 3 days. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
24 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, if you missed the back and forth, the debate, the chat this morning with Senator Robert Adley, former Senator Robert Adley, and Representative Alan Seabaugh, a huge portion of that will be up later on the Keel website at keelnews.com.
Mm-hmm.
So what it's once again, and you tell me if I'm wrong, and we talk about this specifically with Senator Tarver and Representative Glover. Two guys who look at the same thing and draw totally different conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where these two are, or are they? Is it what Robert said? You're not entitled to your own fact. What Alan said. You're not entitled to your own facts.
They have different opinion on budgeting and spending, and that's, I think, where they disagree.
But they don't even agree on the definition of deficit.
Yeah, they had an issue about that. They also have an issue about all the federal money that comes with all the strings attached, which, we have to consider that. What I really can't get anyone, and I want to find someone that can really help me with this, is let's take all the federal money out of the budget. Then let's look at our budgets over time and let's see where we are. Is this really a smaller budget when you take all the federal money out? Is this really a smaller budget than previous years? I don't think it is.
But can you really do that in the sense that are we spending that federal money just on federally mandated things? How much leeway do you get with that? And the point I'm making is that let's say that Erin McCarty makes $150,000 a year from the radio station and another $25,000 from ad agency work.
Sure.
Okay? That $25,000 from ad agency work is still part of your household budget and still part of what affects what you can spend.
And if you simple it down even further, let's say the federal government says, I'm going to give you $100 for roads, Robert, and you're going to fix roads in southeast Shreveport with this money, but you got to match it with $10 of your money. You got to bring 10% match to the table.
Or worse, $200.
Right. Well, that ends up, you have to increase your state budget to match that federal money, and I'm using the small numbers just because of my small brain for math. That ends up increasing your state budget, and I get that point.
Would it be fair to say that one can easily draw the conclusion from all of this and from things we have discussed and things we have seen and gentlemen and ladies to whom we have spoken, that the one conclusion you can draw is that government is too big, it's too complex, it's too complicated, and nobody really like you and me can understand it.
Yeah. And, Mr. Adley brought to me before we went on the air, because I've had this long-standing problem with how many media relations people, communications specialists we have,
the
and all that.
The expanding middle ground of government,
yes.
i.e. it's
and
a world of vice presidents.
He asked that question, on my behalf of some people who knew, and he said the problem is that's where these people are now all classified as. The people that maybe handle websites and newsletters and things like that we didn't have in years past.
Yeah.
We didn't have the website design and all the blogging and stuff that they do. And he said those people are now classified as public relations people. But I still think there's way too many of them, despite the fact that, yes, you have website stuff, but, you have whole IT departments and you have way too many people doing jobs that, and even Alan Seabaugh has said before, he thinks we can do with 3,000 fewer DOTD workers. I mean, he's made that comment on the floor of the House, I believe. And I still think somebody needs to get in there and scrub it up. Get a scrub brush, bring that little pink guy you use in your bathtub, and scrub away.
And do you really think anybody could do that?
No. And I hate that I even have to say no. I would like to be able to say somebody could get in there and do it. But I just don't think it's just become such an animal all to itself, the growth and ballooning of government, that it's going to be hard to turn back the clock.
29 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Robert and Erin, local news just a couple of seconds away right now. Here's Ruben. It's traffic time on KEEL.
Still keeping a close eye on some heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up to Airline Drive right now. And we're still looking at that major accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
There cannot be a deficit in Louisiana. And anytime you hear the governor say there's a deficit, anytime you hear Mr. Adley say there's a deficit, got to keep in mind that that's not a true statement. We all hear deficits. We talk about deficits in the terms of Washington. That's his definition of a deficit. That's not a deficit like they have in Washington where they actually spend more. But you got to keep in mind, I was not a supporter of Jindal's budget practices, but John Bell was. John Bell voted for 6 out of 8 of Bobby Jindal's budget. I voted against. So, to say that, I'd to say that, I'd reject the premise that there is a deficit. And the fact that, again, if you look at what the size of government was when Bobby Jindal left office, it was about $5 billion a year less than spending what the size of government was when Bobby Jindal left. Again, if you look at what spending what the size of government was when Bobby Jindal left office, it was about $5 billion a year less than it is right now. So to say that, he's doing with less money is just not true.
Let me ask y'all this, and we'll start, Robert. I'll start.
Wait a minute.
With less money is just not true. With less money is just not true.
We need to clarify what a deficit is.
Okay.
For Alan to sit here and, if those funds do not materialize, you then have a deficit. The government doesn't have a deficit. It's absolutely ludicrous. To sit here and say that the budget was actually bigger is also wrong.
So did we plan the revenues wrong? Did we not estimate what was coming in
wrong? We have a revenue estimating conference,
right.
And the revenue you thought was coming in, you have a deficit. You have a deficit. To sit here and say that the government doesn't revenue you thought was coming in, you have a deficit. To sit here and say revenue you thought was coming in, you have a deficit. To sit here and say
estimate what was coming in wrong?
We have a revenue estimating conference. Couple that with the budget that the legislature is given to pass that also recognizes if those things do not happen, and they didn't happen under Bobby Jindal, many of the recommendations they have, I'll give you a prime example. I sat in the room with one of the department heads that was there with Bobby Jindal when they came in and swept some $500,000 in funds, but reported, so when the legislature then that this budget is bigger, it is bigger because of federal money. Deficit is just out. To say there's no such thing as a deficit is just outrageous. To also say that this budget is bigger, it is bigger because of federal money.
Let me ask you that, because it's a $28 billion budget. It's the biggest we've ever had, and I don't understand.
The state of Louisiana is getting more federal dollars today than it ever has before. That is a good thing. That's getting money from Washington, taxpayer money that's ours.
That's still my money.
Let me give you an example. They're going to spend it in New York if we don't take it. But let me show you. John Bell saved
$300 million in the state general fund, this $3.4 billion that happens to be $1 billion less than it was in 2008. He saved $300 million by taking more federal money. And let me tell you how. When he did his Medicaid, $300 million by taking more federal money. And let me tell you how. And let me tell you how. Federal money. When we did the expansion, the match became 5 cents. Receive from the feds in any other manner than they dictate. And Alan, you know that.
Hang on a second, gentlemen. We got to go to break. When we
Right.
come back, Mr.
He would not agree to a single cut of anything. Mr. Adley came on, governor wouldn't have it. He would not agree to, they actually hit it, or maybe it was a little higher, then we would have extra money that we could give for infrastructure. And the Constitution lists 6 things. Mr. Adley came on the other, and that's just not true. It's like a family looking at their budget and saying, okay, that's a $15 increase, and that's what we've got here. We've got a budget that has gone from 23 to 28 billion. General fund money's up, federal money's up. It's up across the board. And to say that the problem with federal money, and he's right about you're restricted in how you can spend it. We've got a budget that has gone from 23 to 28 billion. General fund money's up, federal money's up. It's up across the board.
Don't do it. No. Not yet. Now.
Hey!
Nice. 835, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin. Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. In the 6 o'clock hour, we chatted with Reverend Terrence Trammell. He's the house manager at Merkel Center of Hope Salvation Army. And he said because of the weather over the past few days, what did he say? That where normally they will have 10 or 15 people nightly in their shelter.
He's up to 80.
It is close to 100.
Unbelievable.
Or even more.
Mm-hmm.
And well, tell everybody what he said. First of all, they have a Facebook page.
Yes.
The Salvation Army does, where you can go and you can see what they need. You can get all the information.
And there's voting going on right now for a $1,000 shopping spree. Different agencies, and Salvation Army of Shreveport is hoping that you will help them.
In other words, that would be $1,000 for the local Salvation Army to spend on necessities.
You bet.
But I was going to say that run down for folks what he said they needed, as they have this influx of folks who literally, I mean, they're saving people's lives, for heaven's sake.
They need things. Cash, of course, is king. It's number one. But they need toiletries. You know, things you would use in the bathroom.
That's exactly what he said. He said, if you need it at your house,
toothpaste, yeah.
We need it here.
They also need things like warm socks, blankets, hats, gloves, and he also said food.
Yeah.
So if there's some food items you can donate to the Salvation Army,
jackets,
they need
stuff like that,
thing.
anything
yeah.
that you've got.
And you know you've got an extra jacket in your house. You've got one that you're not going to wear again. You don't like it anymore. It doesn't fit you. Just run it by the Salvation Army. Somebody will be thrilled to have it.
So it's once again Reverend Terrence Trammell. It's Merkel Center of Hope Salvation Army. You can look on the website, the Facebook page, Salvation Army. It has all the details and photos and information, and it is certainly a worthy thing to dedicate a couple of dollars to, and thanks to them for joining us earlier today.
You bet.
839, 1017 FM and 710 Keel Traffic Update. Here's Ruben.
Still keeping a close eye on some heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up to Airline Drive right now. And we're still looking at that major accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Oh, wait, we're late already, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay, 839, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Get the traffic guy ready. When we come back for the lengthy segment, what?
You're a segment off. We're in the right place, brother.
We're in the 40 segment already?
Yes.
Oh, my
We just did
God.
traffic and weather, you big dummy.
Yes, he's such a doodlehead.
Oh, my God.
You're
so I can
such a doodlehead.
So I can
Knucklehead.
tell you, well, I can tell you now then about being chastised, being an outlier, being made fun of by my friends at lunch yesterday.
Were you?
And I think, though normally if you hang out with my friends, you would say not only do they have better lives, they're more successful, family men, career professionals, etc. And you would think that of the 4 or 5 or 6 of us, that I am the inveterate loser. In this case, I would say that each and every one of them are, subtly put, freaking stupid. Among my friends are a number of very, very enthusiastic Saints fans.
Uh-huh.
And to the man, well, it's like the one thing in the 7 to 8 o'clock hour with former Senator Adley and current Representative Seabaugh. If you heard that hour talking about the state's financial difficulties, is there a deficit? You're a polecat. The point being, the one thing they agreed on, remember what it was? Parkey, remember what it was?
Well, there was 2 things I remember, but I want to know which one.
What they agree on?
That the end of the Saints game was the most tragic end to a football game that either had ever seen. And my friends, who for the most part are Saints fans, tend to agree. But where they disagree with me, and where I got to tell you they are 100% wrong, none of them think. They all think, what was the kid's name, Marcus Williams?
Yeah.
They think he just missed. He just missed. He just lowered his head and he missed. And it's as simple as that, that this dedicated young man, a rookie, and he had a hell of a rookie season. He was doing the best he could and he just missed. And I said, yeah, he missed. But if you watch the video, watch the video. He doesn't really, and this is going to sound like I'm implying that the fix was in.
Right.
And I don't think that's the case. But if you watch the video, he doesn't really try.
No, he just takes a dive.
Okay, so my question to you is, and here's where my friends vehemently disagree with me. If he half-speeded his attempt, Why did that? You agree with me. You are the only one. Parky, do you agree or disagree? When you watch that video, he looks like he's not really trying. His heart's
He's not giving it 100%.
His heart's not really in it.
I think the pressure of the moment had him second-guessing himself, and he just made a tragic mistake.
If you listen to a number of national hosts, a great deal of criticism has been heaped upon the Saints coaching staff. And I will explain. Well, right before that final play of the game, the Saints had one timeout left and they called it. And they had the defensive team come over, and evidently, according to these national hosts, those coaches on the Saints sideline, according to the national hosts, not according to me, those national hosts, their theory is that the Saints coaching staff failed to get those players around and say, whatever happens, don't let them. I don't want to say don't let them score. That sounds stupid. What, according to the hosts, is the national guys, what the Saints coaches failed to do was say, tie them up. Let them make the catch. Don't let them get out of bounds. Wrap them up. The game's over.
Do you not think every player knows exactly? They have played since they were 5 years old.
Stop a second.
It was Matt's right on the money.
Stop a second.
It was the pressure of them. Everyone on that field knew that. Wrap them up. Take them to the ground.
But there was one that didn't.
The pressure of the moment, he thought, I got this. I'm going to just run into him and knock him down.
So you tell me what happened.
He just got locked up in the moment.
15 seconds before.
He's played football all his life. He knows what to do.
Evidently not.
You know what to do. He got lost in the moment of the high pressure, and he did not go back to what must I do day in, day out to make this happen. He just thought, I got this. I'll do it my way. Did it his way.
In other words, you're telling me he had the most massive and conspicuous brain fart in the history of football.
Yes. In that moment, which was so huge, he forgot everything he knew about football from age 5. He didn't do the proper technique that he's learned since age 5. He did something off the chart they shouldn't have done.
Did he try to make the play that he would have made if it had been the first quarter or the second quarter or the third quarter and not the end of the game?
Yes, exactly.
So you disagree with all...
He knew what you had to do at the end of the game. Don't act like the coaches made a mistake, but they know what to do. They've been playing this for years.
Do you think the Saints coaches reminded them of that on the sidelines?
I hope they did, but if they didn't, it doesn't matter. It's not on the coaches. These guys are pros. They're paid millions and millions of dollars to do what they do. They need to know. Let him catch it. Take him to the ground. It's the last play of the game.
And yet, when it all mattered, when
the spotlight shone on him, and he freaked.
When, as they say, you just got one job. And in my mind, which nobody seems to disagree with, and I likened it to a golf swing that you start down. You got to have confidence in that golf swing. You got to believe that what you're about to do, and you'll see guys, and they start down and they start to have doubts.
Yep.
And as they start that downswing, they decelerate and they are screwed.
Yep.
And what this kid did was he lowered his head and he did what he instinctively would have done at any other time in the game, in any other situation. And he lowers his head to make the play. And as he starts, I think he remembered. And he tries to stop him.
He had an blank moment.
He decelerates that downswing, for lack of a better analogy, which is why he looks so undecided and so lost and so non-committed to making any play at all.
Yep, it's like a car spinning on ice. You know, normally you would just steer into the spin and come on out of it. No, he was fighting that spin. He's fighting that spin. And the car just going to keep on spinning.
But can you imagine in that kid's mind, he does what he's instinctively done forever. And he starts to make the play. He starts to follow his instincts. And as he hurls his body toward the receiver, then he remembers, no, wait a second. That's not what I'm supposed to do.
I'm supposed
and
to
he
wrap him
tries to stop.
Couldn't do it. He's in midair.
And what resulted was a total disaster.
Disaster.
And none of my friends agree. 849, 1017 FM, 710 Keel, Your Money Now, and American Ground Morning Minute, just a couple of seconds away. Right now, here comes traffic, and it's on Keel.
Still keeping a close eye on some heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up to Airline Drive right now. And we're still looking at that major accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Mostly sunny today. Not as cold in the afternoon with a high of 43. Turning partly cloudy and cold. Low 27 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Rush Limbaugh, the authority for all things right. Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 1017 FM and 710 Keel.
You're listening to American Ground Radio's Morning Minute.
There appears to be a little bit of bad news about Trump's tax plan. You see, Bank of America and Citibank both say they've lost billions of dollars because they've had to write off some of their tax deferments.
Oh, Stephen, before you reach for that tissue, please realize that Bank of America themselves alone are going to earn nearly $5 billion more money in 2019 because of the tax bill. That's going to more than cover that tax write-off of $2 billion.
So it seems even when there's some bad news about the tax plan, cutting taxes always leads to good news.
American Ground Radio, where building a better America begins with building a better us. Return each weeknight from 6 to 7 p.m. with Louis R. Avalone and Stephen Parr on 1017 FM and 710 Keel and streaming live at keelnews.com.
Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty, once again for our friends at Twin City Appliance, online at twincityappliance.com. Training is constantly updated. I've made the analogy a bunch of times. I remember I got, you know what my first car was?
What?
A 1949. It makes it sound like a classic. No, it had a hole in the floor on the passenger side. But the point is, when you pop the hood, there was like the engine block, and there was I was going to say altimeter, but that's like an airplane thing, and some spark plugs. And now if you pop the hood on a car, you need a master's degree from MIT to work on those things. And appliances through the years,
all these computer chips and boards and
are
all that,
exactly the same way. And that is why the folks at Twin City Appliance, their technicians are constantly trained and retrained to stay up to date with the latest stuff.
They can do all the highfalutin stuff. Give them a call today, 318-688-0253, or check them out online at twincityappliance.com.
Hi, I'm John Fielder.
.855, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, I promised Matt tomorrow morning we will, in fact, talk about tops.
Thank God. I've been ready to explode since yesterday at about 7:10.
I got a good compliment from Senator Raymond Cruz, who said we had a great show today. He appreciated it. He was listening. So thank you. We appreciate everyone listening.
Which part of the show was he enamored with
I'm
the
sure
most?
he was listening to the 7 o'clock hour.
I was thinking it was probably the Twin City Appliance
No,
spot.
and if you missed the 7 o'clock hour with Alan Seabaugh and Robert Adley debating the budget, it's all going to be put online here shortly. We'll make Robert do extra work today.
As soon as we get to it, it'll be there.
Yes.
But if you can't wait, as soon as we stop the video stream,
yes,
you can go back and you can hit the 7 o'clock hour and you can just move the little
listen to
mouse
the
around.
whole shebang.
Who's on the docket, so to speak, for tomorrow morning? Anybody right now?
Let me look at my book.
You know what it's supposed to be later today?
What?
Middle 40s.
I'm loving that shorts. I'm going to go out. I got you a romper. Will you wear the romper out
I
to
would
Betty,
wear
Virginia?
a onesie, my Town Square Media onesie. It's for anybody over the age of 40. Matt, you'll be there before you know it. Back tomorrow morning, 6 till 9, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Here's Kim Commando.
We've seen shootings, porn aimed at kids, fake kidnappings, and at least one live gang rape. And I'm just scratching the surface. So now to clean itself up, YouTube is about to deploy a secret weapon. Kim Commando with your Thursday Consumer Tech Update. Google's YouTube has been spiraling out of control for more than a few years, so the company is clamping down on just who will get paid for the videos they create. From here on, video creators will need at least 1,000 subscribers to their channel and a total of 4,000 hours per year of their videos viewed to qualify for what's called the YouTube Partner Program. That's where the big money's made, and where the most outrageous and oftentimes revolting videos are posted. It's gotten so bad that YouTube is now deploying a secret weapon. Humans, real people to monitor what's going on. Will that solve the problem? Only if those humans have more class and common sense than many of the video producers. We'll see. I'm Kim Commando.
Why just listen to the Kim Commando Show when there's so much more? Why not watch the whole show in high definition on your phone, tablet, or television?
This is so cool because you're so nice.
Or download the podcast in crystal clear digital audio. Watch or listen on your schedule, driving, exercising, or relaxing.
I have been following you for years, and you've made me pretty much the genius.
But Kim's Club is so much more. You also get security and data breach alerts, priority calling into the Kim Commando Show.
My favorite digital goddess. I'm so glad I get to talk to you.
And Kim's Club offers discounts for everyone over 50, former and current military, and all service personnel. It's never been more affordable to be a Kim's Club member. So stay up to date the easy and fun way. Because these days, you can't know too much about technology.
And it's like you're our friend on the radio, and I just think it's awesome.
Go now to club.commando.com. That's Komando, club.commando.com.
1017 FM and 710 KEEL. And thanks to Jack Spring Electric, we have the new Shockbuster button. If Erin says something crazy,
I'd kiss a stranger for a ribeye.
real zapper. It's our 7-second delay, just in case. It's the Jack Spring Electric Shockbuster button on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Still keeping a close eye on some heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound, starting at Spring and Market. It's backed up to Airline Drive right now. And we're still looking at that major accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Plenty of sunshine today. It won't be so cold this afternoon. High 43. Turning partly cloudy tonight. Still cold. Low 27. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710